back with Bobby and JJ Radio. We're learning everything commercial. We have some really good guests. Our next one is Miss Cari Robinson.
Mrs. Robinson.
Mrs. Robinson. She's earned her BBA from UT Arlington.
The Fighting Platypus?
I think it's the Fighting Platypus. She has, we have Winnie dogs. She has 2 boxers.
Me too.
And they're not the kind that...
Not the fighting kind.
Not the golden gloves.
No. The golden paws. Yeah. And she's married. She has been for she has 14 years of experience in banking.
Yes.
And she's a senior VP of commercial banking at Bank SNB. Works with my man here, Oscar Tirina. First of all, I want to say thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
We have a lot of different questions on the commercial asset stuff. So what are the different kinds of assets that someone can invest in on the commercial side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, you'll hear multifamily or apartments.
Sure,
we'll
apartments,
also have retail, and that can be single tenant or multi-tenant. So
Right.
a shopping center, 10,000 plus square foot with multi-tenant.
Right.
We also have industrial and office, of course. Those are the 4 main food groups. Exactly. It's kind of what we say. There's also subgroups such as self-storage and some that are
Flex, whatever.
flex and other
What does that mean,
mixed-use
flex?
type.
Flex means that there's retail in the front and then, like shipping or
Right.
stuff going on.
Or
in the back.
office in the front and shipping or
Don't say whatever you're about to say, dude.
Like a mullet?
Yeah. Party in the back. Yeah. So will lenders want to know if someone like me is trying to invest in commercial real estate?
I will go back to what Oscar said, and that is...
You can call him OT. We call him OT.
I'll go with what OT said. It's really the 5 C's of credit, and I have to go one-on-one. It's the characters, number 1. So we want to know really about your background. What have you done as a commercial real estate investor? If you're new getting into it, I still want to know your background. What have you done? You owned some kind of property. A lot of times we find people that have owned maybe a few duplexes and they decide, I want to get into the commercial side. So they may go the route of a small retail, or they may go in the route of a 15 to 50 units multifamily project. So it's about my sponsorship. It's about the person, my borrower that I'm entering into this, banking relationship with.
Sure.
As well as the project itself. The history of the project is absolutely critical. And the operations, the management. If you don't have this experience in it, then I hope your management company does, because that's critical. It's all one big partnership, and it takes a lot more of that partnership to run a commercial real estate project.
So when you talk about management, you're talking about like if I was interested in like a multifamily unit, but if they have a really good core management for that apartment complex,
that's exactly
that would make you feel a lot better as a lender.
Absolutely.
That even if I don't know what I'm doing, they definitely do.
I still don't care that you know what you're doing.
Right.
I really do.
No, I got you.
But
if I wasn't as seasoned as, let's say,
that's
the next
exactly
guy.
right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I got you. So that makes a lot more sense.
So what are the qualifications for the actual investing loan?
So obviously you'll hear cash equity. Cash equity is always a big one in.
How much money do you have?
How much money do you? Yes.
Right.
So you'll see anywhere from, sometimes you'll want anywhere from 25 to, anywhere from really 20 to 40% equity. It depends on the transaction. It depends on the project itself, the history of it. Each deal is very unique, and I will say.
So it's not as cookie cutter as residential.
It's not as cookie cutter at all. It's not a box. Each deal actually is very unique and stands on its own.
And so do you, sometimes if you don't have some stuff in your portfolio, are you seeking that out versus, you like, let's say you guys have a lot of multifamilies. Mm-hmm. You're like, we got a lot of multifamilies. Maybe we want to start to look at some more retail.
Banks always have that concentration. We're always looking for diversification.
Sure.
And throughout the bank, throughout C&I lending as well as commercial real estate lending, but also in those, what you'll hear banks say are buckets. There are construction buckets, and there are long-term buckets, and then in the construction bucket you'll see different types of project as well. So it's all about diversification,
right.
For banks.
And what is HVCRE?
HVCRE stands for high volatility commercial real estate. And
Okay, make that make sense for me.
It's actually something that probably over the last, I would say 6 to 9 months, maybe even 12 months at the most, is really something that's come to the forefront of all banks, and that is making sure that our partners have a minimum cash equity into their transactions. So for that,
skin in the game.
Skin in the game. And that's one thing that we had found in the past is criticism, I guess I should say, for commercial real estate transactions was having that skin in the game in the end and having to remarket. So
yeah, because if stuff goes bad, it's kind of easy to walk away. Right?
It shouldn't be. It's
right.
a partnership.
Right.
Who pays me in the end? It's the person that I'm doing business with.
Right.
So it's still about that character.
So there's some costs that a commercial investor is going to have to come out of pocket with. What are some of these costs?
So we're going to need the third-party reports. So your typical surveys, a lot of times depending on the age of the project, you'll need a PCA or property condition assessment.
So let's talk about the property condition assessment.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like? What are they looking at, and what does that cover? Who does them?
You know, there's a lot of really great companies here in San Antonio and throughout that handle that. But engineering, really looking at people that are looking at structural. You're looking at capital items, the HVAC. You're looking for all the capital items as well, because all of those have a link. So if you've got a project that's been built 20 years ago, you know, when's the last time the roof was replaced? You know, when are things coming due? Because those are capital needs that the cash flow of the project will need to go towards. So that's something that's critical.
Sure. Is that outside of a regular inspection that may happen on the property?
It can be. A lot of times, sometimes it'll start with a typical inspection. A lot of times just our borrowers themselves, they will go and get an inspection because they want to know. But
for themselves.
Exactly. But depending on, again, age and kind of our sight and view and quality of the subject, we may require that PCA.
And then you're also going to have an appraisal, obviously.
Appraisal, which is one thing that is, you know, that is a complete separate blind bid process that we go through. We do not have a say. That's one thing that I can say we have no control over at all. So it's taken outside of bank's hands, and it's a blind bid process, and whoever ends up
it's that Russian roulette.
That's
that
exactly
Russian roulette.
Right. That's exactly right.
So it seems like there's a lot to go over. You need to contact Miss Cari Robinson, and that's Cari Robinson and her email is carirobinson@banksnb.com, or you can contact her directly at 210-442-6136. Again, that's 442-6136. And check everything out at banksnb.com.